This program airs statewide on California Public Television and is a California's Gold classic. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association.
California, here I come, right back where I started from. I'm going back where bowers full of flowers bloom in the sun. There each morning right at dawn and birdies sing, and everything a sun gives me said, don't be late, that's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate, California, here I come.
Hi, I'm Huell. You know, a lot of times when we're traveling around California and we're passing through a small town or community, it just so happens that just as we're passing through, they're having some sort of celebration or festival. Well, most of the time our schedule doesn't allow us to stop, but this time we have. Welcome to Bidwell Bar Day, which is held here on Lake Oroville near the town of Oroville in Butte County. We're going to spend the whole day here. It should be a lot of fun. We're going to learn some history, and you're invited to join in all this fun as we search for California's gold right here at Bidwell Bar.
It's a celebration that takes place on and around a bridge. And this isn't just any old bridge either. This is the Bidwell Bar Bridge. Originally constructed back in 1856, this was the first suspension bridge west of the Mississippi River. It was built by John Bidwell to serve the townspeople of Bidwell Bar, the site of the second major gold strike in California. Ironically, just as the bridge was completed, Bidwell Bar began to lose its population, and soon it was almost completely gone. And then in 1964, the river was dammed up to create Lake Oroville. So to save the original historic suspension bridge, it was dismantled and reconstructed on its present site in Bidwell Canyon on the south end of the lake. Well, there's no water underneath it now, and it's no longer technically a suspension bridge, but it has been saved. And every year, the volunteer members of the Bidwell Bar Association, in conjunction with the California Department of Parks and Recreation, put on Bidwell Bar Day, which takes you back in time to the Gold Rush era.
Oh, we are the folks from Bidwell Bar. We welcome everyone. We know you've come from near and far to join in Gold Rush fun. Try gold panning and games of faro too. From the arts and crafts to song and dance, there's time for each of you.
Now what's going on over here?
Well, we're having a faro game, which is a 19th century card game, which was practiced during the gold mining days.
Now what's going on over here?
We're making what they call gold dolls, which are made from these oak pieces.
From oak pieces?
I don't really know what they are, but they're part of the oak tree.
I
They
see.
gather them up in the fall when they're this color. In the spring, they turn ugly brown.
Uh-huh.
And then, well, this is what they look like.
Oh, I see. Look, here's the doll without,
Without her clothes on.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Now, explain to me how this works.
Well, what this tin art was for was they used it in the cupboards. So they put it on the outside of the cupboards, and they could put their bread and pies and everything inside, and then the flies wouldn't get at them. So it acts as a screening, but they made it decorative.
Oh, so this would be what a cupboard would look like, a design.
Yeah, like the cupboard was here, and this could be on the door, on the cupboard. It'd be bigger, though. They made them bigger.
Wow. Wonder why we don't still do that.
They do. They sell them for antiques, and they're a fortune.
When you hear the rock hitting the other rock, that's a no-no, because then you're making sand and you're putting sand in your food, and then when you're going to eat it, your teeth are going to grind down to nothing. And that was one of the problems that the native Californians had, was tooth decay. It was a big problem.
Now tell me the truth, what do you think about this band?
I think it's all right.
You do?
Yeah, you're dang right I do. That's the kind of music I grew up on.
Really?
Old foot-patting music.
What do you ladies think about that music?
I'm glad they practiced last night.
I think go a long ways to find another one like it.
This is what they called a British banger.
A British banger?
A British banger, yes. Years ago, when they brought the Cornish miners out here to work in the mines, they had the bangers, that was their stable fare, and they also had Cornish pasties, which incidentally we don't have any today.
So this British banger is historically correct back to the gold mining era, back 100 years ago.
Yes, right, yes. But only the British people brought this out. This was not American fare at that time.
It's the flavor of the times. We have Toll House cookies and pickles and beans and things that the miners would have eaten if they had to work real hard mining gold.
I got you.
Everybody's having a lot of fun here.
Nobody's getting rich.
No, but are they having fun? Who don't want to pan for gold? It's like fishing. If you don't catch nothing, you're still having fun. So that's really what they're doing. This place has been packed all day long here. They just keep pouring in. Some of them get little tiny pieces, and the miner will put them in a little bottle for them, and they take them home, and they're as proud as they can be of that stuff. They are just having a good time.
She's panning for gold. Now, have you ever done this before?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Have you ever found any?
Yeah.
A lot of the children very quickly realize that gold panning is hard work, but you're making history real to them in a sense. They're having a good time, but they're learning. It's almost you're sneaking in the interpretation, you're sneaking in the education. But they remember that, because I remember talking to children that have been here in years past, and they say, yeah, last year my hands got real cold, or I was real tired, it was real hard work, or those pieces of gold are awfully small. And then when they go to school and they talk about gold mining, gold panning, it's very real to them. They've done a little bit of it.
Now, what does this day mean to the people around here?
Well, you know, I think people in Northern California, we're almost all newcomers, and that's what the state of California has always been about, is newcomers. And when you come here and take part in a celebration like this, it sort of gives you that feelings of roots. It tells you where we came from and why we are what we are today.
It just brings everybody together, it seems to me.
It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a good, fun day, and it makes you feel like you belong to the community, you know.
Continuing our gold country adventure, we said goodbye to the new friends we'd made at Bidwell Bar Day, got on good old Highway 49, and headed south and a little east to the historic and bustling town of Sonora in Tuolumne County. Now, just about every place we visit has a local landmark that everybody in the area knows about, and that's the way it is in Sonora, too. In fact, their local landmark is almost impossible to miss, because it's right on Highway 49, right in the middle of town. And on top of that, it's red. Now, technically, it's St. James Episcopal Church, but around here, everybody simply calls it the Red Church, because it's always been red. Now, it was built back in 1860 when the gold rush was in its prime by Reverend John Gassman, a young man originally from Norway, who believed this raucous gold mining town needed a church. And it's been here right in the middle of town ever since. Now, when this church was built in 1860,
yes,
was it in the middle of town then, or was this on the outskirts of town?
No, absolutely, it was in the middle of town. Town was all around. This was a humongous town of many, many sort of tents and temporary structures, but it was definitely a downtown church and always has been and still is.
Well, yeah, it's definitely right in the middle of town, because I think one of the more interesting aspects of the church
And I don't know how does it disrupt the services? We're right in the middle of a major intersection
Well,
here.
perhaps if you came into the church the first time, you might find it a little disruptive, but perhaps we've become accustomed to it. This is Highway 49, which is the thread that runs through the whole entire gold rush country, the whole motherlode.
So it's really impossible for anybody, unless they're not looking at all, to go up and down Highway 49 and not see this church.
Oh no, especially at Christmas time. When you come up that road at Christmas time, there's a great big Christmas tree right in front of the church, full of lights.
Do you have a lot of tourists coming in?
We have them all the time. They come in. It's one of the most popular tourist attractions in the Sonora area. This church is incredibly well built. What I maybe didn't tell you was that Reverend Gassman was not only a good preacher, he was a builder. He knew how to build. And he and his men built this church themselves. And they built it in traditional Norwegian style because the Reverend Gassman came from Norway. So if you look up on the tower, you'll see it's a traditional 8-sided Norwegian tower. It has a nice steep roof on it so that the snow will run off. It's got board and batten construction to keep the Norwegian winds out. And it's very sturdily built out of redwood.
Now, the $64 question. Why is it painted red?
Huell is painted red because that was the most simple, easiest color. It's lead oxide and linseed oil, and it was readily available. All the barns around here were painted red, and so they just used this basic red color to paint the church. It's a beautiful color. I love it.
That's it? That's
yes,
the story?
That's the whole story. Lead oxide.
I thought there was going to be some romantic, wonderful story about why the red church was red.
No, plain old red lead.
Really?
Yes, sir.
No doubt about it, the red church is a Sonora landmark. So much so that in neighboring Jamestown, one of the local fine art galleries put on a show featuring nothing but renditions of the church by local artists. And it was a real eye-opener.
Now, why do people paint the red church?
Well, it's a standard. When you come to Sonora, the red church is a symbol of early Tuolumne County life. It was the first Episcopalian church ever built here, and it's a fine example of American Gothic. It's just it's a cool building.
Now, do artists see this? And I mean, is the church a standard that every art student from 6 years old up has to paint or draw if they're going to be an artist in this county?
Well, there's a school of thought that says if you are going to be an artist in this county, you have got to have painted the red church at one time or another or rendered it somehow.
The show you have here in your gallery looks at the church in a little different perspective from the normal perspective. Why is that?
Well, when I decided to do a show of nothing but the red church, artists were faced with the prospect of being in a room with nothing but the red church. So the problem then became not do I do the red church, but how do I make mine different and more exciting and therefore more often noticed than anybody else's.
Well, now the one who wins that prize is the one who did the red church green. Now what's that all about?
Well, as you see, the title is My Compliments to the Red Church, and we all know that green is the complement of red. He thought that after he'd executed the painting, there would be a huge fund drive to buy green paint in order to repaint it. That hasn't happened yet.
So the red church is still red.
The red church is still red.
Now this is your piece.
Yes.
And this is an interesting rendering of
the red church.
The red church.
Yeah, well, I found when I first decided to do this show, I found that it was necessary to kind of lead the way and show the artists exactly what it was I was looking for, and that is an imaginative, clever rendering. This is a takeoff on here's the church, here's the steeple.
We used to do that as kids.
Right.
Open the doors and see all the people.
Exactly.
Now there's an interesting one.
Yes, and this kind of typifies the feeling that some people have about the red church. This is called Artist Paying His Dues, and it's by a fellow named Tonio Cole, and in it you see the red church in the background, and then you see stacks of red churches that have already been painted.
There's a red church, there's a
red church, and look at
and there's a red church on his head.
Absolutely permeates his mind. You know, he's just focused and fixed on this thing, because if he can't get the red church right, he can't possibly be an artist in Tuolumne County.
Meanwhile, back over at the church itself, Sunday morning services were just finishing up. which gave me the opportunity to ask the members of the congregation the question that just had to be asked.
What about the color? You can't miss this church.
No, it's a good landmark. I prefer to have it called St. James instead of the Red Church, but that's my own personal feeling.
Well, now, wait a minute, though. Everybody in town knows it as the Red Church.
That's true. Well, it's a form of identification.
Now, I've been asking around, no one's ever suggested that you change the color of the church.
I don't think so. I don't think they'd have the nerve. Better not. Don't change any more traditions.
Has there ever been any debate ever or any suggestion from a single member of your congregation that you change the color ever?
Never, and it will never happen. You know, it's sort of our mark, and if it can be a mark to the glory of God, we're going to keep it that way.
Now, we had to leave Sonora right after church to drive 5 miles over to Columbia, another little gold rush town in Tuolumne County that's chock full of history. You see, they discovered gold here in 1850, and almost overnight Columbia became a boom town. In fact, at its peak, over 5,000 people lived here, and it had over 150 businesses. In almost every sense of the word, Columbia was a typical gold rush town. And what makes Columbia so special is that today it's almost exactly like it was back in the 1800s. Recognizing an opportunity to preserve a wonderful part of our past, California created Columbia State Historic Park back in 1945. And today visitors can wander its streets, poke around its buildings, and see firsthand what life was like back then. Now, all of this is nice, but we were in Columbia to attend a very special event. It took place outside the St. Charles Saloon, and it was a flower show of sorts, with all kinds of interesting arrangements. In fact, there were people there from all around just to see it. But this was a show that was a little bit different, because you see, actually, it wasn't really a flower show. It was a poison oak show.
Columbia is a little different than most places, and the people that live here are quite a bit different than most people. And it gets kind of quiet around here sometimes. We were looking for something different to do, and it seemed like the thing.
This is different, all right.
Yes.
How do you gather this stuff for the arrangements?
Well, either with your bare hands or with some clippers. Most people wear gloves. Some wear bodysuits.
Bodysuits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the ultimate protection.
Uh-huh. Now, what kind of classifications do we have here?
Well, we have 10 different classes. They go anywhere from best bonsai to best arrangement with another plant, most potent-looking leaves, largest leaves.
Now, show me a potent-looking leaf. Where would a potent-looking leaf?
We're looking for a potent red leaf. This is a good example.
Now,
here.
are red leaves the most potent? And I'm being very careful when I pick this up. Red is the most potent?
No, not necessarily. The plant is extremely potent in all stages. It just looks more potent when it's red.
Now, you just touched it.
Unless you crush it, it won't release the oils in the plant.
So you mean if I touch this poison oak, I'm not going to get it?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Now,
that's why we have a disclaimer on our entry forms.
Do you really?
If you're prone to filing lawsuits, just stay away from here.
Now, can you pick that up without getting... Oh, wow. And that won't make you... Oh, no, don't do that. That's not going to bother your... You're not going to...
Well, it hasn't before. I mean, I've been running through it for many years, so...
Wow. What do you think about the poison oak show?
Oh, it's great. I get it pretty bad, so I want to stay as far away as possible. I just realized what it was.
Really?
Yes.
You hadn't been over close to it, have you?
Yeah, I was. Oops.
Really?
Yeah. So be careful out there.
How allergic are you to it?
Extremely, extremely. I can look at it and get it. It runs in the family.
I think you better run away. Now, here's a lady itching right here. Come over here just a minute. This lady's itching. You're itching and you haven't even really seen the poison oak up close. What do you think about this show?
Oh, I think it's great. Uh-huh.
Did you enter anything in it?
No, I don't have any poison oak on my land.
Uh-huh.
But no, I think it's unique, and it's pretty nice. We do a lot of things in Columbia.
That are unique.
Oh, very. Yeah, right.
Well, I think this one tops them all.
I do too. You got to be careful. Keep your distance.
You're from Eureka.
Highway 101, Redwoods.
Now, do they have poison oak like this up in the Redwoods?
Oak, 100 feet high.
Oh, really?
That's really.
So what you're saying is the poison oak up in Eureka will blow this stuff out?
Absolutely.
Well, maybe you should start your own contest up there.
Hey, maybe that's an idea.
Now, let's check you. I don't see any poison.
I have no poison oak. I don't get poison oak.
What do you mean you don't get poison oak?
I think I'm immune to poison oak because I played with it for half hour or so and didn't get any, so I feel pretty lucky.
Yeah, but do you think you're going to win?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to win. I don't really care about that, but it was fun doing it.
Looks like an itchy situation to me. This is the 9th annual show, and it's people around here, they grow it. They'll grow it just for this show.
They grow it?
They grow it just for this show, and then they go hunting and find the big leaves. And
so this is a big deal.
This is one of the big deals in town here. We have a few.
It's very persistent. Poison oak is more persistent than most of the other bushes, and
you can't kill poison oak, can you?
Well, it's very, very difficult. It takes years of chopping it back.
And how potent is this stuff?
It's very potent. We can get poison oak just by walking by a plant and breathing the odorous fumes that come off the bush.
Wait a minute.
Yes, truly.
You mean standing right here in front of this poison oak?
Yes. If you get too close to it, if you get too close to it, it puts off a vapor that if we breathe this vapor that the leaves put out, we will get poison oak, provided our metabolism is acceptable to it.
This particular poison oak is putting out a vapor right now?
Oh, sure. There's enough leaves here. If you're susceptible to poison oak, you will get poison oak breathing the odor that comes off of these, or the fumes.
And we've even got poison oak up over above us here.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
we're surrounded with poison oak.
Well, no, this is nothing. There's, like this one down here, the tree down here. This was a big plant. And there's areas where there's just lots of big plants.
Is Tuolumne County kind of known for its poison oak? Is that one of its natural resources?
All along the foothills of the Sierra Mountains, yes, poison oak. Lots of poison oak, and along the coast out to the west.
Is there anything special about the poison oak here that makes it better, or?
Just its abundance. We have a lot of it, and why not glorify something a natural resource that we have so much of?
As we leave Tuolumne County, we have decided to travel down a road that you can hardly even find on the road map. It's Highway 59, but it cuts through some of the prettiest country I think there is in our state. In fact, whenever we travel down a little road like this, we are constantly amazed at how much beautiful, undeveloped land there still is left in our state. And let's hope it stays that way a long time. As always, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this particular adventure and invite you to come along with us again next time as we all continue our search together for California's gold.
Hello, everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library, it's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.